You just need to do. That's the key word, to do. Even trying is a myth. Without being nitpicking, you can't try anything. If I say to you, there's this pen sitting on this table in front of us, and I say to you, all right, what I want you to do is try to pick up this pen. Now, here we go, okay? Now, in reality, all of this trying is called not picking up the pen. It's just not up yet. And then when I do this and I pick it up, there's the pen up in the air. The trying is man's invention. It's the doing. It's the doing that is important. And yes, risk-taking is phenomenal. And I use the word myself. I have in a chapter in my book on raising children called I Want Them to Become Risk-Takers. And yet I don't believe it's risky at all. I believe the risk is only our evaluation of it. And that the real risk, other than putting your life in jeopardy and jumping in front of a moving train and foolish things like that, which I'm not talking about here, the risk is, there's several. One is that I will fail. All right, let's look at that. You can't succeed unless you're willing to fail. And you can't always be better than everybody else, because if you're a winner by having to defeat everybody else, then you'll always be a loser, because no one can always defeat everybody else, no matter how great they are. So that's not a good definition of winning at all. I've often talked about Babe Ruth hitting 60 home runs in 1927, the year he struck out more than anybody in the history of baseball, the same year. If you want to hit home runs, you have to be willing to strike out. And failing at something is just an opportunity, if you're looking at it the way I'm talking about. It's just an opportunity to see where you are and to assess who you are. And if you're having to look over your shoulder at somebody else to decide how you're doing, then somebody else's performance is determining who you are and how well you're doing. That's called competition. Enlightened people don't look at other people to determine where they are. They say that's the person and that's how they're running and that's where they are in their music development or whatever it is. And that has nothing to do with me. Where I am is how I decide to believe. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting out there and competing in a tennis match or in a golf match or in bowling or in anything in life. But to understand that it's not to evaluate who you are and how valuable you are, but just to see how you stack up to somebody else. That's fine. And when it's over, it's over. That's one big risk. And when you get to a point where failure is something you welcome, because that's how you learn. You don't learn much from success except to stay the same. But when you fail at something, it's a wonderful experience because it gives you an opportunity to grow. To me, that's not risky at all, even though to many people it is, this whole business of failing. The other fear is that I won't be liked, or that somebody won't approve of me. Well, the enlightened people are independent of the good opinion of other people. They are not functioning and running their life based on what others think or say or tell them to do, but instead on what my own inner lights tell me to do, with the morality of as long as I'm not hurting anybody else or interfering with anyone else's right to run their life as they choose, then anything that I do is okay. That's all morality is. Your right to swing your fist and flail around stops with my right to have my nose shaped the way I want it to be shaped. That's it. And so that's the only morality there is. And so you go out into the world and you are who you choose to be. And you know that some people will like it and some people won't. And the people who love you the most will probably dislike what you do the most, 50% of the time. And if you're trying to run your life based on what everybody else is saying or thinking or feeling, then you can never get anything done, because there's always going to be somebody, a large number of somebodies, who are going to dislike it. And every great idea comes from an innovator. And innovators are people who do things differently. They're not trying to please everybody else. Because when you think about it, if you try to please everyone else, if you try to be just like everyone else, what do you have to offer? If you're just like everyone else, you just have sameness to offer. It's your uniqueness. After a while, you begin to say that's just okay. And in fact, even in my own relationship with my wife, if we have disagreements now, there was a time if she would disagree with something that I would believe, I would be upset about that. Not immobilized or anything, but like, how could you not agree with who? Now, if we talk and she disagrees with it, I just say, that's her. That's who she is. That's what she believes. And she doesn't understand me, and that's okay. The greatest understanding you can have, if you want to be enlightened, is that no one will ever understand you, because you're unique. You are a unique creation, and no one can ever get behind your eyeballs and see things as you do. You are always alone with who you are, and yet never lonely if you like the person you're alone with. So those risks stop being risks after a while. They're only risks to people who are just starting out on the path, who are just beginning to find out how easy all of this is and how perfect it all is. And the further along you go, the less risk there is. It just doesn't matter anymore, whether you fail or whether somebody doesn't like it or whether or not it fits in. Those things just don't matter anymore. And they become less and less and less risky, and just easier and easier and easier to just be what you know you have to be.